internally and externally. We all know, if we take a moment to ask ourselves to look inside, that many times we may feel that there's a storm going on within us, a turbulence. And when we look outside, we see conflict, we see unrest, we see kalesh not only on a familial level in terms of our own interactions with other members of our family, friends, but kalesh within the world as a whole. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji tells us that the whole world in disconnection from the Naam is struggling, is suffering. Nanak dukhiya sab sansar. And as Paji has beautifully explained, and you have been doing vichar of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's Gurbani, Slok Mahalla Nawa, we see that all the way through there is a sense that a wisdom being shared with us, that our life in this world isn't what we may think or believe. That within Gurbani, the central message premise seems to be coming up again and again. That our time in this world, our perception of being here may be not as it seems. Maybe distorted was the word I was looking for. Why is that? Because every single one of us in our worldly lives, in our families, we find ourselves falling into this state where we believe our life in this world to be true. We become attached to not just things, but outcomes in our life. And when those things don't come to plan, we suffer, we struggle, we experience anxiety, we experience anger. Gurbani tells us when we go deep, when we do the Khoj, Dadda dera eh nahi, Jah dera teh jaan. That this place is not our true home. That true home that is not of this material realm, that is actually sukham, invisible, subtle. Find that home. Do pashan, recognize that true home. And when we ask Tan Tan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, where is that home? How do I do that Khoj? And Gurbani tells us that the mind, until we learn to bring it to that place of ekagrata, single-mindedness, the mind cannot come to reside in its home. It cannot know its true home. And in this not knowing of this true home, we come to become overly attached to this material home and the rishte here and the happenings here and the mishappenings here. Gurbani says, Nij kar mahal pavo sukh sahje. That when the mind comes to reside within its home, its nijkar, its thirkar, sun, sahaj, all of these terms are given within Gurbani to describe our true home. Begumpura Shahar, Dasam Dwar, terms that we are all familiar with. Gurbani says that until the mind doesn't learn how to go home, it will always feel a sense of suffering within this material realm. So how do we do this? So this is, with Guru Sahib's Kirpa, we have this session that Bhai Sahib has organized for us to do some practical, have an experience of this home. So we, with Guru Sahib's Kirpa, we have the Gyan, we have these wonderful sessions that you are able to come and connect with. we have the ability to read Tan Tan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, so that's the Gyan side of things. What Gurbani is telling us is we need to go beyond Gyan. Gyan is to take us into Dhyan, the actual practice, experience of our true home, of that state of ekagrata, of single-mindedness. Because Gurbani says that until the mind goes into that state of single-mindedness, until it can come into that state of presence, that state where the mind goes beyond thoughts, beyond vichar mare, tare tare, ult joon na ave. When the mind can go beyond thoughts, above thoughts, it can come out of this material realm and it can go into spiritual realm, nijkar, thirkar. And what does Gurbani tell us about our thirkar? That when the mind comes to sit within that home inside, when it learns how to come away from thoughts using that Gurmantar, that Shabad as the anchor, thirkar baso, when it comes to sit within that true home inside, thirkar baso har jan pyare, Satgur tumre kaj savare. So we have this guarantee, we have this promise within Gurbani that not only will we find peace there, no matter what is happening in this material realm, no matter the layers, the waves of sukh and dukh that come, not only will we be able to find peace within our true home, all of our affairs will also become resolved. If we are able to take that mind out of vichar, out of thoughts, out of trying to control, predict, judge, evaluate, chase after, when we can settle that mind down into that state of zero state, of no vichar, that is where the mind can start to enter into that home. And we know the analogy within Gurbani that tells us that the mind has become like a hathi, an elephant, so big, so bloated with vichar. And the doorway to our home, that dasam dwar, that nijkar, is so very, very brief, is so very, very fine. So that mind has to learn to let go of those vichar, to come into that state of zero, of nothing, of no thought, and it will then be able to experience the peace that it will experience once it comes home to its true home. Nij kar mahal pavo sukh sahje bahar na hoigo fera. So Gurmukh Pyareo, with the rest of this session, the time that Guru Sahib has blessed us with, we're going to try and have an experience of our true home. We're going to take our mind out of vichar, out of thoughts. We're going to use the Gur Mantar as the anchor. And Gurbani says that in the same way that a building is supported up by pillars, the mind needs some kind of support if it's to be in its home. Jo mandar ko thamme thaman, tyon gur ka shabad manne asthaman. That the gur ka shabad, that Gur Mantar, is the support for the mind. So with Guru Sahib's Kripa, we're going to start off by doing Simran, the practice of meditation, which some of us may have done before. I myself did Simran for many years and struggled to connect, to be completely honest. So I would chant, come into the Sangat, and the thoughts just would not stop. So I would be chanting with the tongue, Ram Ram Karta Sab Jag Fire, Ram Na Paya Jaye. But nothing was changing on the inside. I couldn't access that peace. And then when we delved into the Gurbani, did some practice, we learned that actually there's a bed, there's a way that we can get the mind to connect. Ram Gehen Meh Bed Hai. That there is a Jukti method, Trika. Gurbani tells us, Gaviye, Suniye, Man, Rakhiye Pao. That we chant, Rasna Uchari, Har Sravani Suniye, So Udre Mitta. That we chant with that tongue. We place our attention in the sound of our voice. We listen with our ears, Sravani Suniye. So, Man Rakhiye Pao. That we try to hold that intention of love within that heart, within that mind, that we have been separated, Paramatma, separated from Paramatma for so many lifetimes. We've experienced suffering at not having been able to go home, at not being able to see our true mother and father, hear their voice, hear their avaj, hear their instruction. That Paramatma, we want to connect now. Take us out of this dukh, this agan kutamb, sagar sansar, and allow us to come into your sanctuary. So, Gurmukh Pyareo, we're going to come together and we're going to do some Simran. Using that Jugti, that Ved given in Tan Tan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. That we're going to be chanting with that tongue. And we're going to notice those sponge inside of us that Baisab spoke about earlier, those 5 doing their job by sending thoughts. Sponge, chor, chitva vikara, maya, mo, ka ehe pasara. That those sponge will be doing their job, causing us to go into those vichar, into thoughts. And now that we have the instruction from Tan Tan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, we will be attaching our mind to that Shabad. Shabad Guru Surt Tun Chela. We will be immersing our attention in the Tun, in the avaj of our voice the avaj of the Guru Mantra as we chant. And in this way, we're going to keep that mind steady and stable. We're going to start off just by singing 2 lines from Gurbani. Thir kar baiso, har jana pyare, Satgur tumare kaj savare. To build that motivation, that bharosa, that if we are able to sacrifice our minds to the Guru, surrender, let go of those vichar, of those thoughts, then any problem, any situation that we wish to be resolved will become resolved. Thir kar baiso har jan pyare, Satgur tumre kaj savare. Thir kar baiso har jan pyare, Thir kar baiso har jan pyare. Sare japo. Thir kar baiso har jan pyare, Thir kar baiso har jan pyare. Satgur tumre kaj savare. Satgur tumre kaj savare. Thir kar baiso har jan pyare, Thir kar baiso har jan pyare. Satgur tumre kaj savare. Satgur tumre राज सवारे थिर कर बैसो हर जन प्यारे हर जन प्यारे हर जन प्यारे थिर कर बैसो हर जन प्यारे वाहिगुरु 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 Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru. Guru, Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru. Guru, Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru. ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਚਿਰ ਲਈ ਅੰਤਰਗਤ ਜਪਨਾ. We're going to start to chant internally. So the mind will do the chanting and the mind will do the listening. As the breath comes in, you can feel Vahe. As the breath comes out, you can feel Guru. keeping the mind still, connected to that mantra. So Sangat Ji, in this way, as the mind starts to go into Sahaj, that state of peace, bliss, what will start to happen is that the mind will start to disconnect from the body. So you may have noticed that as we were chanting, slowly, slowly, the mind forgot where we are, who's around, forgot about the aches and pains of this physical body. And some of us may even feel like they went into a sleep-like state, which Gurbani calls sun, the mind's true home. Sun, samad, sache, kar, bara. And Sangat Ji, as we practice over and over, barang, bar, prabjapya, as we chant over and over, learn to take that mind into that state of single-minded focus when it starts to listen to the Guru Mantra, hear the sound, rather than listening to the thoughts of those banj. Slowly, slowly, as that mind, that surti connects to that shabad, that milap happens, that union happens between the mind and the Guru Mantra, the shabad. What will happen is that the mind will go into sun. And initially that will feel like you've just fallen asleep. And that's very good. That's the first stage where the mind starts to disconnect from this physical body and make that connection to spiritual realm. So Sangat Ji, we've got some time remaining, and we're going to start the Simran again, just as we have done before. We're going to do the Simran in Sahaj, and we're going to put all of our attention in that sound of our voice. Try again to connect, and allow ourselves to fall into a sleep if that happens naturally. Not feeling like we have to stay awake or keep chanting. If naturally the mind feels to be, if we feel to be quiet and not chant anymore, just allowing ourselves to rest within that state of Sahaj, sun, sleep-like state. Vai Guru, 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 Vaheguru, 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 Guru, Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru. Antargat. Chanting internally, listening internally. So Sangat Ji, just become aware of this state. Just notice how you feel within your mind, within your body. And this state is your true state. This is the true you, Man, Tu, Jot, Sarupa hai, that we are divine light. And with all of that noise, of those banj, of those vichar, that light remains hidden inside of us. We don't recognize that light. It's covered up by so much mail from janams, janam ko isa ko mal lagi, kala hua seao. That those qualities that were our true nature of love, compassion, anand, bliss, sahaj, those were covered up by that mal that was accumulated over so many lifetimes of our vichar, of our thoughts. But now that we have come into the satsangat and had our ishnan, had our cleansing bath, manatovo shabad lagu, and as the mind goes deeper and deeper, spends more and more time in this state of sun, the mind will get more and more cleansed, more and more cleansed. And those parts of our personality that we believe to be true, sometimes we believe, I'm just an angry person. I won't be able to overcome that. I'm just a lustful person. I can't overcome that. But Sangat Ji, those aspects are not of our true nature, of our true personality. And when we do this Simran, when we cleanse this mind, pariya mat papa ke sang oho tope name ke rang, that when we connect the mind to this Naam, slowly, slowly we see our personality starts to transform. That when usually something somebody would say to us would cause waves of anger and homer to rise up inside of us, naturally we will find ourselves more in a state of sehaj. Those things will not affect us in the same way. If we continue to do this practice of Simran, come into the Sangat and wash that mind, cleanse that mind. So Gurmukh Pyareo, you know, we've come from fields, there's the psychology field, so my background is clinical psychology. So there are all these kinds of different models and theories as to what brings about behavior change. And so far in my whole career of 15 years, nothing has quite brought about the level of transformation in both myself and clients that Simran has. So it's just about the experience coming into the Sangat, trying again and again to connect, to still that mind. And there's no doubt, the guarantee is given, that when the mind is able to come home, it will find peace. So, Sangat Ji, as we come to the end of the session today, let us just not forget how we feel after the Simran. Let us carry that with us. And when we have some time, whether it's this evening, now within Western science and within Gurbani, there are some optimal times within which if we chant, if we do the Simran, we can bring about some serious behavior change. One is just before we go to sleep, because those brain waves are very slow at that time. In the same way, just first thing in the morning when we open the eyes. If we can start to do the Simran at those two time points, the mind will connect more easily and we will be able to go into that sun, into that state much more easily than at other times. So Sangat Ji, as we come to the end, please forgive any mistakes that have been made during this presentation. If you're interested in going deeper, we have the Sikh Spirituality Network, which is an online group that Paisab, I will pass the details on to Paisab and he can share with you. There's also a meditation camp happening currently in Bradford, which we will be running all day tomorrow. So myself and some other Sangat will be doing the talks there. So if you'd like to go deeper into the meditation Simran, please do come along to that. It's Singh Sabha, Grant Street in Bradford. And with Guru Sahib's Kirpa, thank you to the Sangat, to Dhan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji for this beautiful opportunity to come together with you and connect with our true mother and father. Bol chuk maaf karni. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.